All right, well, here we are again, back out in Mother Nature.
Mother Nature,
and it's a pretty nice day today. Clear skies, probably about, what, 58, 59,
yeah,
maybe 60 degrees.
give or take.
Yeah, so, I mean, for me personally, that's pretty much perfect weather.
That's ideal for me. Yes, sir.
And perfect for meditation, which we are about to do right now. As you know, it's a good way to start off all the videos, and definitely before we start getting into these talks, I think it's good to set the tone. So
Absolutely.
what do you think? Maybe do about 10 minutes of meditation and
Yeah, I think
go
10
from
minutes.
there?
10 minutes would be good.
All
Yeah,
right.
let's do
Well,
that.
you're always welcome to join us for this part. You know, just make sure you find a comfortable position. Could be in a chair, could be on the ground. Just maintain that straight, upright posture. And, you know, the more upright and alert you are, I feel like the more you get out of the meditation practice. So without further ado, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Well, I feel a lot better after that.
And yeah, I feel grounded, my brother. Oh yeah.
Right? Every time. It works every time, 100% of the time.
Every single time. There's good things. Good things.
Yeah.
Good things.
Yeah, it is for sure. Looks like we've got a dog approaching us here.
Yeah, we do have a dog coming over here. Just kind of stay still and see how this is going to go.
Well, we welcome all beings into
beings.
our... Hey, he's a Longhorns fan too.
Oh, all right.
Hey, how are you? He or she? Yeah, it's a he.
That's good. See,
Yeah.
there we go. There we go. See, that's... See, if I wasn't calm, I probably would have just had my arm ripped off. But, you know, we're all good. We're all
Exactly.
good. Just like
Yeah.
this ant pile that's over by me hasn't messed with me, so we're good.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you bring that up because there are stories in ancient Hindu literature that talk about various saints who became so, I don't know if I want to use the word enlightened or maybe just one with the earth,
Yeah.
that the legends say that they were able to walk amongst the beasts like tigers and lions and things like that,
Right.
and they didn't get attacked by them because, you know, they just had a certain energy or aura to them to where, you know, even very aggressive animals would be totally docile in
Yeah.
front of them,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that there's some merit to that.
Absolutely. I mean, I would think that the animal or the beast or whatever, I mean, it's closer to the source than probably most of any of us in the world. And then it comes to just because it's just all it knows is, or I would think, well, just all they know is to be in the present, right? They don't have a complicated mind, or at least I don't think so. And then you're, you know, you got you know, you're over here and you're calm and everything's just good and they can sense that, and you're not a threat, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's no ego behind you or anything. You're just nothing to them, and you know, and everything's just okay, you know. So
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I think we could probably argue whether the animals are closer to the source or not, but you know, maybe, I guess if you're looking at it from, instead of going somewhere, maybe going back, right?
Oh,
maybe the more simple life form,
Yeah.
it's closer to the original state of being, or I don't know. That's a really interesting question, actually.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like who or what is actually closer to the source? Because we always talk about, you know, children being closer to the source,
Right.
and they're of course not as tainted by the world, or their minds are not as complex. So, yeah, that's an interesting question to ponder, whether animals are kind of the same or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Man.
that is a rabbit hole for sure.
Well, getting into, you know, the new year and everything, I know myself, I think you're probably the same way. Don't like to sit there and say, oh, it's the new year, so it's a restart. But, you know, to a lot of people it is. You know, I try to tend to think it's just another day, right? And just moving forward. But, you know, looking back, I know we try to be in the present, but, you know, things that you've got from last year and things that you'll work on getting into maybe this coming year, and yeah, just roundabout story of this past year, you know, how were things?
Yeah, that's a good question. And Happy New Year, by the way, to all of our viewers. You can probably tell by the date of the video, but it is January 2nd. And so, you know, it has just become the new year, 2025. So yeah, with that being said, very relevant questions there. Yeah, this year was interesting for me. I think it was a very transformative year for me, because I left behind some ideas and concepts about, the world and reality and life and all of that I held on to previously. And I felt like a lot of that last year got cut away, eradicated. I could kind of go deep into that, but I won't really go that deep right now. Another thing too, and this is just me personally, I always struggled whether I wanted to keep drinking alcohol or not. Because frankly, I love beer. It was hard for me to imagine life without that. And I pretty much any type of alcohol, really. I started to really get into scotch before I stopped. But that, is kind of becoming a little bit problematic for me. And I had one incident where I drank too much, and I didn't do anything, super harmful to anybody, but it could have been bad. And it was kind of a wake-up call for me. It was like I got a second chance in a way, because, like I said, it could have been a lot worse than what it actually was. And it was my wife, actually, who came to me and was like, hey, this is unacceptable. Like, you got to figure something else out. I don't know what that looks like for you, but you can't be doing this,
Right.
So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to stop altogether. And so it's been 4 months and I don't know, like 10 or 11 days.
Yeah.
And I feel great. For me personally, I feel way better. I definitely don't have as many hangovers as I used to have. And, those really sucked. And we talk about dealing with anxiety and stuff like that. I don't know about you, but my anxiety would go through the roof with hangovers, man. Yeah. Absolutely through the roof, like almost unmanageable, and there were a few times where I was on business trips and stuff like that. And, I went out and had too much fun the night before. And then it's like, I have all these meetings that I got to attend the next day. Yeah. And I'm, hungover, and I'm just like flipping out on the inside, Yeah. And it's funny now talking about it, now that it's in the past, but in the moment it's like, man, what am I doing? Yeah. So I think that was another thing that I learned, is that I don't really need that. Now I'm not saying that I think everybody should be that way. I think it's perfectly fine to drink in moderation. This is just me personally, what I found worked for me. So I don't want it to come across as me being like a teetotaler now, right? Where I think like, oh, you can't drink at all if you want to live, a healthy life. I think everything in moderation, right? Yeah. But anyway, for me personally, it has helped me a lot. I feel a lot more clear. I just all around feel healthier. So that's been good. And well, I guess before I go into kind of what I'm looking at for the new year, is there anything that you felt like you went through this past year that you kind of, maybe some hurdles you got over or whatever?
Yeah. So, from the previous videos, was kind of going through some stuff in the summertime. Didn't know if it was, like I was explaining, like some type of anxiety 2.0, like it remanifested in some different way. I had defeated it, back in my late 20s, early 30s. And like the flu or something, it just built its way back, knew how to defeat what defeated it. And now I have to come up with a new antidote to defeat that, Yeah. So I was like, man, this one's like, it's the level 2, and how am I going to defeat this bad guy, Yeah. And, come to find out, it was some medical things that taken care of now. but it was due to a deficiency of some vitamins and nutrients that I was, needing, which was causing some just crazy brain fog. So that would, I learned through that, if you are having some anxiety issues, or maybe it's really bad, maybe it's not too bad, whatever the case may be, I come to learn talking to a gastrologist, it's all about the stomach and digestive system, that a lot, things can trigger and stem and start right there in what you're feeding yourself, what you're putting in there, and then how stressed you are. And if your body is all messed up here, then it's not grabbing all the nutrients and everything that it needs to, and it's kind of expediting the process. If that were, it just, it's not having enough time to grab everything that it needs. And it could contribute to, anxieties, because up here you're just chemically imbalanced, right? It's not filling them back up anymore, and you're running low. And when you're running low, it's like a hangover, it's, you're not right.
Yeah.
And then you start to work yourself up even more, which then goes right back to here, and it's like a tornado down there, but got all that figured out. But I have said in previous videos, and before we even started making these videos, I had come to the conclusion, at least now, my mind's always, my being is always exploring other thoughts and ideologies and just life experiences, but just everything happening for a reason. And I think I had said it in the video, like, I'm not going to stop now. This really sucks. And I don't know why it's happening, but I feel there's a lesson behind it, And one of those things is, I think I took for granted, my health. That's just one thing that, I like to sip on some stuff too, and before all that happened, I was to a point to where I was drinking maybe like 3 beers a night, maybe a whiskey or two. When I say just whiskey, just a little bit. But
yeah,
it wasn't nothing like, it was just part of my routine, it wasn't like I was trying to get drunk or anything. It was just, everybody kind of went to sleep, and I might be working on some stuff, or I'm just listening to some music, and I would just casually just throw some back. Well, it was just, I started to notice one day, I was like, man, I'm like doing this every day, and I was like, man, is this healthy? Well, I know it's not healthy, but like, can I stop? Like, let's see what tomorrow brings. And I'd be fine until like 9 o'clock roll around or something like that. And I'd be like, man, I really want a beer,
Yeah.
And and then I'd go back doing it again. I'm like, it's nothing, But then it started to think in my mind, like, man, what if this turns into, it's, not 2-3 beers and a whiskey. Maybe it's going to turn into a 6-pack a night and half a bottle of whiskey, like, where does it stop,
Oh yeah.
So, and then all this stuff started to happen, and I, cut everything out, because I'm like, you're in panic mode. You're just trying to, like, that well-being, just like, I'm just trying to get better now.
Yeah.
And so after
you go full vegan.
Yeah, just full vegan. Yeah.
You just stop everything.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah. I'm not even going to the grocery store to buy it. I'm just eating directly off of trees and bushes.
Just back here.
Just like
in
Josh
a loincloth, just grabbing berries.
Yeah. Got to get back, man. So it after all that, I still, have a beer here, sip there, but it is nothing like what it was before. And I'm not saying that had to happen for me for that to happen, but I don't know. Again, just all these things, if I stop looking at them in coincidences, and they all kind of happen when they needed to happen, and it's just like, maybe something was just trying to keep me on that path, you know what I mean? So I really do feel that. And I feel that because of what we do and talking with y'all and having these conversations helps me this past year to help me stay silent, to keep me focused, and for me to listen and remember that there's a lesson in everything, or at least that's what I feel. And, it's made me better. better before I entered 2024. And, you know, I learned a lot from that. Also, it, you know, reminded me of how crappy anxiety can be when it's at its full state and it's got you. You know, it's something, you know.
Oh man, yeah.
So, but
And it's good to have those reminders sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
I
like,
mean,
because we
yeah.
think of it as like, oh man, I don't want this. This is really bad. But then, like you're saying right now,
Yeah.
You look back after you get through it. You look back and you're like, okay, you know, maybe I needed that. And
Yeah.
you know, even if it was a reminder of kind of how things used to be,
Right.
it kind of keeps you on your feet. You know.
Yes. Perspective. Now, you never say that when you're going through it, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm glad this is happening, but yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, in the end, you see it through, and that's an important thing today. You know, I was having lunch with a friend today, and it's funny, we were talking about this, and he is more on the religious side, you know, and I do look at scripture and a lot of sayings, not, you know, all the written stories and stuff, but a lot of the biblical sayings and stuff like that, because I think there's a lot of merit to that, and just how you view that in different contexts and light and stuff like that. So he was talking about, you know, what, you know, the famous saying, walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you know.
Oh yeah.
He was, because he got real sick with the flu, and he was like sick all of December. He was like really bad, lost a lot of weight and stuff, and he was talking about it, and I was like, you know, just thinking about that when you're saying this and we're saying this, and, you know, going through hurdles and stuff like that. And, you know, maybe that's what that saying was kind of for, is, you know, in life, you know, I think Cass said it in the last video, you know, when you're in, you know, crap's gonna happen, you know. You can't avoid it, and the shadow of the valley of death, like, you're gonna have to walk down it, and maybe not once, maybe you're gonna have to do it, you know, a couple of times. There's gonna be some really hard times, but if you're silent enough, I feel that's what that passage was for. I don't know all of it, you know, after that, but if you read more into it, it's just like, I believe what it's saying is, if you're silent and you're focused, no matter what you're going through, don't doubt your feet and continue the walk forward, because there's a door on the other end of it. You know, there's a light on the other end of that. There's light, you know, in the darkness that you're in, but you got to continue forward. And you know, are you going to sit there and I believe you'll have a choice. At that moment in time, you're going to reach like the middle point, and you're going to look to your left and you look to your right, and you can continue down to the unknown, right? Of the unknown, uncharted path, but your feet and everybody telling you to go this way. That's the gut feeling. But over here, back where you came from, where you were unconscious or sick or whatever, the lesson that hadn't been learned yet, you could go back there, but that's the ignorance and bliss, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you're in a hard time, don't be afraid. I mean, it's hard to, I know that's easier said than done. Just, I want you to know that there is a light in your darkness, and try every day, if it's every minute, remind yourself to keep walking. Don't doubt your feet, and just keep walking, because I promise you there's a door at the end. I promise you. Or you can hightail it back to what you've known and what probably got you to this point, you know, but you're already halfway there. And if you're lost right now, I would say you're closer to be found, you know, and being found and traveling in that direction, in becoming more conscious in what we're talking about and things that you could read. I believe that's, you know, not just getting into that passage, but just some inspiration if you do feel lost, because we've all been there. You've been on your knees, you've done everything. It dwells in you, and I promise you, keep your feet moving in that unknown charted territory, and it will reward you. I promise you. But that's kind of what I got out of 2024 and into 2025. What I'm going to try to do is, or not even try, I'm already doing it, is not doubt my feet as much.
That's
you
good.
know?
Yeah.
When I have a decision, I know the decision came from the being and not the mind. So therefore, it is the right decision, you know?
Yeah.
So I'll know that, and I got to trust it. Even though there might be outside noise saying you're a fool, that's the mind trying to keep me away from the divine, you know? So I'm going to try to keep the outside noise out, stay silent, and continue my path. That's what I'm going to try to do 2025 and continue to do. And then also us to continue to do these videos and try to reach out and say, brothers, sisters, whoever's going through it, you ain't the only one. And there's probably a lot of more people around you that ain't speaking up that are going through the same thing. But that's what we're here to bring to light, that there ain't nothing wrong with you. If anything, your being is being awoken, and now you're starting to have an inner war. But don't put your being to rest. Don't let the mind win, you know. So that's what I'd probably get out of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's really good, for sure. It is definitely easier said than done, but I think that's why this practice is so important, because for me, at least, you know, if I don't have the practice, then I start to lose my way, you know, and then I'm not as confident in where I'm walking and where I'm going, because I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. So, you know, when you get out of practicing, again, I'm speaking from my own experience, but I think it is true. When you get out of that, you do kind of fall back into the ways of the world and kind of, you know, what everybody's telling you should do. And you really, you kind of fall back into the matrix, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like you're no longer thinking for yourself. Someone else is thinking for you, you know? And so one of the things that the meditation practice has done for me is really opened up my mind a lot, right? And I know we talk about the mind versus the being, but I do feel that there is a way to heal the mind to where the mind can become a tool, a useful tool for you, to where you don't necessarily have to eradicate it completely, but you shape it, you mold it into what it really should be. And in fact, probably what it was, like when we talk about being a newborn, right?
Yeah.
Like the original innate, luminous and clear mind, right? So, you know, I know we speak in very black and white terms sometimes of like mind versus being, and I think it's a great use of language to really describe or convey the idea. But I don't want anyone to think that means you just get rid of your mind completely. I think there is a way to purify the mind, and I actually think the mind is originally pure and originally you know, clear, full of light, and all of these, it's got all these beautiful innate qualities, but it's been so clouded by the ways of the world and, you know, the matrix, like I said, that you just don't even know that anymore. You don't even, it's so, I mean, you want to talk about having brain fog, you know, it's so foggy that, again, you don't even know where you're walking.
Right.
You're just, all you see in front of you is clouds.
Yeah.
And so, to open that up a little bit more and to kind of dissipate the fog and really start to see clearly, for me, I don't see any other way other than meditating like we've been doing, taking care of your body, like you said. That's important because this is a whole being here, right? It's mind, body, soul, whatever, right? You got to look at all the factors.
Yeah.
It can't just be one thing. So you take care of your body. That's a very important thing that you brought up. And then if you can find somebody to talk to, that's so important. I mean, I get so much out of just these talks here. I mean, it's as much for the viewers out there as it is for me,
Absolutely.
because communication is so important. And I think that's a lot of our problem, is that maybe, especially as men and especially as Southern men, we're afraid to talk about how we really feel. We're afraid that maybe it's going to make us look weak, or maybe somebody will find out who we really are and they won't like us for that. Or maybe we'll find out who we really are and we won't like ourselves for that. We're afraid to open up that door. But man, that's the only way to heal.
Yeah.
That is the only way to heal. You just sometimes you gotta rip that Band-Aid off.
You do.
And just talk about it.
Yeah, you do. You gotta put that ego in check, and that's part of the mind. Just doing that. It's really, really important. I've in this year, because we're doing the videos, I felt, if I came across somebody, maybe at a party or a get together, or maybe it's a family member or something like that, not like all the time, but if I did notice something, particularly in males, because I just, I am one, I kind of know what they're going, just their day to day, kind of what it is. And I can kind of see how their mannerisms and how they're acting. I would, I know going up to somebody, be like, hey man, are you okay? They'd be like, the hell are you talking about? Like, back up off me,
Right.
But, so instead I would just kind of go up and I would just kind of say, just out of the blue, just start some like conversation up, and then just kind of hit them like, man, back in my 20s, blah, blah, blah. And I'll kind of get into a story. Now I'll kind of work into it, but I'll kind of open up to them about my insecurities or just anxiety, because I can tell they're going through something and they don't even really know what they're going through. They're just, I can tell them might be, tweaking a little bit, or, I can just tell they're just antsy. And, so I'll share my story, and then and you can kind of see like an eye perk up or something, like, oh, like you going through that too, or you did, or what, I'm not the only one, and because I opened up, now they feel, well, I've just dropped all the walls, maybe they can, and it kind of invites them to kind of say something. So, I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know. But I've just found, if I was trying to like reach out to somebody, particularly males, and I care about them and stuff like that, like I find it more easier to talk to someone by me myself showing them, not by what I say, but just how I do, and like, I'm going to open up first without you even knowing, and I'm going to let you know that, like, I'm going to live myself fully vulnerable to you. Like, you're going to know my secrets,
Yeah.
And there's something in that, to where like you're just throwing your trust, just like, I trust you, and I've gotten some feedback from that, and I've been able to talk to people that I feel like, needed that at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And most of these people that I come across, I mean, I really do. I mean, I care about them, and you know the pain. You know the pain if you've been through things. I mean, it's like one of those things that you're like, man, I wouldn't wish this on my enemies. You know, it's like it's really bad. You know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so if you see something going on, you know, it kind of wears on you. Like, man, I hope so and so's doing good. You know, and so that's another thing. Just the outreach, you know, and while we further do this, I kind of got on a tangent. I don't even know why I was.
No, actually,
talking
that's
about that.
perfect because, you know, one, that's what we're trying to do with the channel. And by the way, if anyone ever needs somebody to talk to and you feel like you may want to, you know, contact us, we do have our email address in the description of the channel, and it's available to anybody if you ever need someone to reach out to. Just wanted to throw that out there. But it's a great point you bring up, because on the topic of, I won't say New Year's resolutions, but maybe New Year's intentions could be a better word. One of mine was actually to really see the oneness and the unity of all beings, and to stop seeing me and mine versus you and yours, and, you know, this division that we kind of draw in our minds between self and other. I kind of want to dissolve that even more. I mean, I've talked about it a lot and I get what it is, and I've had experiences of oneness, but do I live it out every day? No, I can't say I do, and I'd like to more. And I feel like you brought up a good point of, like, maybe you're at a party or, you know, some event and you see somebody that, I don't know, you feel drawn to them and you want to reach out to them and talk to them, and maybe you open up to them and they open up to you, and it helps them.
Yeah.
You know, that I want to do more of that. And I know one of the problems I've had is just prejudging people, and, you know, going somewhere and I see somebody across the room and I'm like, I don't like the way that guy looks. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, who am I? Someone else could easily say that about me too, you know, like, am I the perfect being? No. Like, so who am I to judge anyone for that? But you know, I've found myself doing that, where I'm like, I don't like the way the guy looks. I don't like the way he carries himself. And, you know, if he says something I don't like, then, you know, I'm gonna perk up, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, what is that? You know, it's like this fight or flight mentality that I've always had. And it's probably part of, you know, a composite piece of the anxiety that I've had in the past too, for whatever reason. But I just find, as I go deeper into this, you know, spiritual path and the stuff we're talking about, I find that that's really a crappy way to be.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to be that kind of person. And even if I'm not saying anything to anybody, or they don't know what I'm thinking in my mind, so you could argue that it's not really hurting them. But for me, you know, and Jesus talks about this, speaking of biblical sayings, is that even thinking something negative is getting you off of the spiritual path, right? So again, you could argue, well, I'm not actually saying that to them. I'm just thinking to myself that I don't like the way they look, or, you know, I don't like the way they talk, or whatever. But it's like, well, even thinking that in your heart is just as bad as if you were to go and say it, right? That's what Jesus preaches. And I believe that. I really do believe that, because I think, again, if you look at the oneness and the connection between everyone, there's something happening, and I know this is going to get a little mystical, but there's something happening on an energy level.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're connected in ways that you can't see with the naked eye. And so your thought and what's going on inside, it actually does affect the world outside. You may not be able to see that manifesting right in front of your naked eyes, but with your soul eyes, you would be able to see that, right? It's a different level, it's a different dimension. So as you get deeper into, these meditative practices and spiritual awareness, whatever you want to call it, you begin to start to see these things, and you begin to start to see how everything is affected. There's a cause and effect, and it happens on various levels in various realms and all these things, right? So for me, I feel like it's important to be healthy. I guess I'll say like on a soul level, because I don't have a better term to use, but that is a part of it as well. And again, even if you're just thinking something, or maybe you're gossiping about somebody, I don't know, man. Like I don't find that that's very healthy.
Yeah. Well, I like the thing that you had said. I don't know if it was on or off camera, on or off the video. At one point in time, you had told me that you kind of were practicing, or at one point in time going through and pretending that everybody was your mother.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I remember a couple times I would do that if I'm getting, driving or something like that, and, somebody, cuts me off or whatever the case may be, runs me off the road, but hey mom, yeah, oh, okay, all right, well, because I'm not going to go over there and cut off my mom, or go like honking and high beaming and,
right,
or want to go over there and pound somebody's face in, if I'm treating everybody as, hey, if everybody was like your mother, I would, I definitely have a lot more compassion, and even in a stressful situation or with somebody, and who knows? I mean, that person going through a bad ordeal, which is probably, and it's their mind, right? It's not the being. It's just they're chaotic up there too. So, how can I sit there and, to most people and say, get mad at them when they're not even in control. It's again, not saying I'm better than anybody or anything like that, but like talking about like if they're more of an unconscious being, and just getting into a biblical saying again, Jesus up there, and as he's getting crucified, he's like, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. These they're just beings that are being controlled, possessed by a polluted mind,
Right.
And the being is so suppressed, they don't know what they're doing, right? So, how do you condemn something like that? Now, again, you could get into like, well, what if somebody killed somebody, and what, are you just gonna let them free?
Yeah.
Not saying that, not getting that deep, but again, just overall, there's a lot of unconscious beings, and I'm not saying I'm fully conscious myself, but I feel like I'm getting there, and I should be to the point now to where I recognize it, and it shouldn't be getting to me.
Right.
That's something I should be. I need to really work on that, and because I know better now.
Yeah.
And if I choose to let my emotions get the best of me, like, what is that?
Exactly.
Like I feel like, I've matured to another level to where in consciousness that, I'm acting like a kid,
Yeah.
Or somebody that just doesn't know. So,
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, and I forgot who it was, but I think it was a Buddhist monk, but I forgot his name or her name. But yeah, they were saying that to look at everyone else as if they were your mother and to treat them that way, which I thought was great. And, you've used that already. And then you brought up another good point of, you do it in a way that's kind, loving, but maybe you look at some of these people as possibly having like a mental illness,
Yeah.
right? They don't know what they're doing. Just like the quote you gave of Christ on the cross of, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. It's true. I mean, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just are on autopilot, and especially if you're unconscious, you're on total autopilot. In fact, someone else is piloting you. So you don't even know what you're doing, and you have to look at that as kind of like a mental illness. Are you going to, let's say somebody legitimately had a mental illness that impaired them to where they were handicapped, would you make fun of that person? Would you talk bad about that person behind their back? I mean, everyone would think that's wrong for you to do that. Absolutely. You'd be like the worst person ever. You'd become a pariah, So if you view other people that way of, hey, they don't know, then you do start to have more compassion.
For sure. And just a little bit more elaborate on that, just things that in my life that impacted me reading this. I forgot what book it was, but just onto what we're talking about on the, marriage. Marriage is tough. It can be tough sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And, at times, when, things were, kind of arguing quite a bit and stuff like that. Now, again, my wife sees this. I'm not saying I know more than you or I know any better than you, but I'm just saying, like,
he knows everything. It's your fault.
That again, me being more aware, I should know better, right? So if we're arguing and I become, more silent, more focused, and I can look past her mind into her being, it's her mind. That's has a problem. It's not her, and that helped me so much in some, when I say troubling times, not like we were like that bad, but sometimes they can get, you can get kind of sideways with each other sometimes. Oh yeah. And sometimes it get, you're like, oh man, are we gonna be good after this? So like, that helped me extremely when we were, at times, and I could just look past the anger and just see the innocent, being I could just see her as a little girl,
Yeah.
And
wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. Just somebody that's just an innocent little girl there, and this possessive thing that's in her, which is in me too, and in all of us, that's just it just wants that fuel to just feed on, anger and emotion and stuff like that, and it's not her, and so I would just kind of look past it, and now I'm not saying I can do that every time. There's some things that I just
she's watching this. What about that one time where
one time? Yeah, so is
that's a powerful image though, and I've heard you talk about that before, of looking past the mind into the being. And I visualized that after you told me that the first time, and I saw, I can't really describe kind of the vision I had in my head, but I saw the whole looking past the mind into the being, like the true nature of that person at their core. And that's a powerful way to go about life, and that is, I think, kind of going back to the oneness and connectedness thing, because I think our beings are the things that are connected, right? Correct. Our minds are, especially our tainted minds, are the things that are disconnected.
Right.
So if you can begin to look at the being, and you're speaking being to being, even if the other person isn't, if you're able to speak on that level, I feel like, if you're really able to do it skillfully, it would even kind of turn the person to where they kind of start to speak from the being as well, because you're
Yeah.
giving off that energy.
Correct.
And then they're like, they may not even know what they're doing,
Yeah.
but they automatically kind of like fall in line to that. And they're like, okay, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, or I don't know, like whatever the conversation may look like, but you kind of get what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, where it could turn very reasonable. That, you know, they start to, well, it's not giving the mind any type of fuel. You're not giving it any type of feedback or anything. You're just, all you're doing is showing compassion in the midst of chaos, and it can't work off of that. It needs you to yell back at it. That's what it needs.
It has no food.
No, it has no food. If you're not yelling back at it, it has no food. So it's just like, it's starving it. And then it just kind of just, you know, like a kid that just starts kicking a rock down the road, like, oh, this sucks, this is boring, you know? And it goes and sits down, and the bean can come back in, you know?
Exactly.
You know? But yeah, no, it's
Well, and even seeing, because we talk about being a child again and children being pure, and I love what you just said about seeing the little girl in your wife. Because I've even noticed that in my wife, of like stuff that she'll do that it's not really her, but it's come from a broken past. And it's almost like I can, just because I know her so well, I can see where that fracture happened in her life.
yeah,
But if you can look back to just that innocent person who didn't know any better, and they were hurt because something happened and it wasn't their fault. And because of that, now they're kind of the way they are, you know, and it may not be all good. In fact, a lot of it may be bad. But whether they continue to perpetuate that or not, it's still not fully their fault.
Yeah.
Because something happened, something fractured them at one point in their life, and they're broken because of it, you know. And the more we can help people become unbroken, the better off the world's going to be. But of course, you can't do that unless you fix yourself first.
Oh yeah.
So that's the whole point of all
Correct.
of this, is like, how can we be better for others if we're not good enough for ourselves, you
Right.
know? So it all starts here,
Yes.
and then you can kind of expand out of that.
Yeah, I think it just emits out of you after that. It's not, I don't even think, after a while, I don't even think you don't even have to say anything after you become that powerful, you know, of it just radiating off of you. And then that's when I think you'll have seekers come and say, like, ask you questions at that point in time, you know?
Yeah.
And then it, you know, then all of a sudden you're starting to become some type of guide after that, you know?
Yeah.
Like how to get them to where you're at, which is kind of cool to think about. And
You're just sitting here in your chair in the woods, and then all of a sudden people just
start grabbing.
They
yeah.
start to, you know, form a circle around you. And
yeah.
No, it is true though.
Yeah.
You do get to a point where, and I'm not saying me or you are at this level yet, but I've seen it with other spiritual teachers where you get to a certain level where people are just drawn to you, right? And like, I read stories about monastics and stuff like that who, they don't even live in the world. They live in a monastery and in a small room, and they just start, you know, being themselves, whatever that may look like. They don't even have to say very many words.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, people start visiting them. Like, somebody hears about, hey, you know, there's this person, you know, way up in the mountains that lives in a hut.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they've got like 1,000 people that are trying to, you know, visit them and stuff. And yeah, so I think there's merit to that for sure. And another thing that I want to do in the new year is bring that energy into the business world, because I have failed to do that. I mean, failed.
Yeah.
I can't even say that I've halfway done it. You know, because it'll be like I'm I'm waking up in the morning. I meditate every day. I have gotten to the point where I'm doing that, which is great, but it's only so good as to the point where you can incorporate it into your daily life, right? Like if I'm meditating and then I go out and I'm just a horrible person to everybody the rest of the day, then what is that? That's almost even worse.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you're practicing this thing, and I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I'd almost rather you just be terrible all the time.
The whole time, yeah.
Because then you'd be real at that point. You'd at least be true.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
So, you know, this happens a lot, unfortunately. I'm just being real. Where I'll meditate in the morning, you know, I'll spend 15, 20 minutes doing that. I'll read some spiritual literature, and I'm on cloud 9.
Yeah.
You know, I feel great. I'm ready to go tackle the day, and I'm ready to spread the love. Sit down, open up the computer, take my first sip of coffee, open that first email, and some jackass has got something to say, you know? And I'm like, man, F this guy.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, let me fire one back. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like I lose it immediately, you know, because I go, and I know why. There's this dichotomy that I have, and I'm trying to get rid of it, but between like my personal life and my business life, right? And there's like this fine line that's drawn between them. And it's like, this is Matt, you know, around the family and friends and people I love and all that. And then this is Matt in the business world. And it's like, I put on a different mask. I put on a different persona. And, you know, sometimes it can be kind of cutthroat, because it's like, we're out here trying to make money, you know? I'm not really worried about how you feel. But I got to remember that is still a part of my life.
Yeah.
It's not like it's some compartment off to the side that is not my real life. That's still very much a part of my life. In fact, it's sad to say, but living in our capitalist society, it's most of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm working 5 days a week and I'm only off 2.
Yeah.
You know, so most of my life is that.
Right.
So if I can't be good in that, then I'm really not making a lot of progress.
Yeah.
So I really want to change that aspect a lot, and really start to incorporate all the things we're talking about right now into that world. And I think it can be done.
Yeah. I think it can be done too. I've the past year, or the past couple years, at least the past year, and then 2023, I was going through that myself, and the amount of people that I talk to every day, and you know, I know it's cliche to say, hey, just be yourself and stuff like that, but there is a deeper sense in that, you know, and I feel you on all of it, and I agree with you on all of it, of just like, if you can be yourself, even in the business world and stuff like that, you're not, again, I think you're starting to play with the mind, you know, a little bit, and trying to fit in a little bit. But now also at the same time, we've got money in play here, and I gotta be successful. So do I need to play the game a little bit? Do I need to put a little bit of a mask on? That's where I kind of, again, my mind could change tomorrow about this, but just everything happening for a reason, and staying true to yourself, and, you know, as close to the source as you can be at all times. And then whatever decision you make, and who you are is how you're supposed to be. And just to not doubt yourself after that, you know, because whatever is going to happen, again, now this is just me, again, I could change tomorrow on this, but just feeling like sometimes like it's already been written, and maybe not necessarily how it all happens is all the details are all out, but whatever's gonna happen is what's supposed to happen. So I'm just gonna follow through. I'm not gonna doubt myself. I'm gonna be myself. And if I don't get this contract, if this person don't like me, then so be it. You know, it's their loss as I'm going by. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let the outside world affect who I am, even when it gets into the business sense. And I think you staying true to yourself, eventually you'll see the turnaround. If there is rejection, sooner or later they'll see that, you know, Matt's a real dude. You know, there ain't nothing fake about that guy. You know, he ain't like, he's himself here. I see him, he's himself over there, and he's himself when he's with me. Like, he don't change. Like, you know, and there's something into that where even the mind can't, like, you know, not notice that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also think maybe the being is a little play in that, to where you become just super trustworthy, where if there was an initial rejection, that it would come back and there would be a surge coming back to you, to where, and then, you know, everybody knows that's Matt, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, and those people stick out, you know, even at like a party or something. I'll tell you a story real quick. It was like this thing, and I don't know why it's just popped in my head.
Yeah.
But when I was single, my thing would be like, if I'm going to go into a club, or if I'm going to go to a bar, or whatever the case may be, I got to be myself. And, you know, however I dress, most of the times it was completely different than where I was going to be going, you know. And
I've seen a little bit of that.
Yeah. So if I went in there, guess what? If I was dressed like everybody else, no one, okay, let's just be real. If there was females in there and I was dressed like everybody else, it'd be less likely that they would have noticed me. But if I was just me and who I am, I'm probably going to stick out. They might not like me, they may not whatever, but they damn sure are going to notice me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb. So like, I bring that up. It's just like, you know, if you are who you are and you stay true to yourself, again, there might be initial rejection, but people are going to start to notice.
Yeah.
That you're not trying to fit in. You know, I'm who I am. These are my decisions, and I stand behind my decisions, and I walk my path, and I trust my path, and I don't let anything else come in between it. People are going to respect that, you know. And there's some people that might not like it, but they're going to say, hey, when I go to Matt, he might give me some news I don't want him to give me, but he's going to be 100% with me, you know? And I trust that man 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
For
yeah.
sure.
And you have stood out in some clubs with the cowboy giddy up,
Oh,
you know.
man, dare you.
Everyone else has got, you know, some fancy clothes on, and this guy's showing up in cowboy boots and a cowboy hat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But again, being true to yourself, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And I love it. And I think everything you said is spot on. In fact, I don't have any more to add to it, because that was pretty much like the cherry on top. But, you know, there was one final thing I wanted to say. Now, I don't want to, because it's been a good conversation, and I don't want to, like, you know, get too sad or anything like that. Really, it isn't sad if you look at it the right way. But another thing that I really wanted to do this coming year was maintain the thought of death at the front of my mind at all times. Maybe not at all times, but more often. Because I feel like the more you meditate on the impermanence of your body and your existence on this earth, and the more you realize that your time is short, and it really is. I mean, in the span of the cosmos, we're not even a blip.
Oh, no.
You know?
Yeah.
So our time really is short, and that's not, I could get way deep on that. That's not to say you couldn't live another life, or whatever. We could get into reincarnation and all that, whatever. But just taking everything for what it is right here and now, your life in this body with this identity on this planet right now, it's short. The time is short. We can all agree on that, no matter what you believe. So with that being said, what are you going to do about that? Right? Like, what kind of life are you going to live knowing that? Knowing that, hey, let's be honest, tomorrow could be your last day.
Right.
Tonight, it could happen. I mean, I'm not trying to like bring anything bad on anybody, but I'm just being real, right? Are you living today like it's your last day? If you knew it was your last day, would you change anything about what you're doing? Right? Now I know there's some things we can't change, right? Like, I probably wouldn't work on my last day, right? Probably try to do something else, right? So there's some things that you couldn't change, right? By the fact that you don't know, right? But in your character, in the way that you treat others, in the way that you treat yourself, are you living like it's your last day, right? And are you hugging your family at night? Are you telling them you love them? Yeah. Are you giving them the quality time that they deserve? And then are you doing that for yourself as well, right? Are you really giving yourself space from, whatever responsibilities you may have to really take a step back and reflect and, look at life and kind of contemplate the deeper things, right? So I think a lot of the problems that we have come from the fact that we think we're going to live forever, right? I mean, nobody really believes that, but you kind of, and especially in our modern world, you've brought this up before, we've kind of put death into the closet and closed the door, and we don't talk about it or think about it because, we're just afraid to go there. And now we also have so many ways to keep it hidden from us to where we don't have to deal with it. Right. And so because of all that, we kind of have an unhealthy view of it in the sense of there's this process going on within us where we kind of think we're going to live forever. Right. And because of that, we just do whatever, we act however we want. We're terrible to other people, whatever. But if you knew how close death was, I think it would change you.
I like the way you ended that right there. I mean, what I've noticed, and it's not like I've been around a lot of people that have, been on their deathbed or something like that, but, the people I have, and, hell, you even see it in movies, you read it in books. I see a lot of, or have noticed, like, somebody on their deathbed. And I'm not saying everybody's like this, but I've noticed, it happened. The compassion comes out with somebody that's, nearing the end, there's no more hate, it's just, they're trying to just send out their last bits of love to the loved ones, to the people around them. It's just, it's kind of like a kumbaya moment, and so with you saying that, that's what kind of triggered my mind of, that I've seen. There's just a lot of compassion at the very end, with most, I think, or what I've viewed. And so yeah, having death near, I think would, definitely put things in perspective all over again, and give you more compassion. I'll just get into something real quick. There was a funeral I went to a couple weeks ago. Somebody I highly respected, and he got taken away and through a medical thing. And I tell you, after that, I mean, it affected me. And man, I didn't. When I went and picked up my son from school later that day, boy, I hugged him super hard, and a little bit longer, because I was like, that could have been, that could be me. I could go to the doctor next month and they give me some bad news, and I like what you said about all that stuff. It's keeping that near. And it's funny you say that, keeping that near, because I have, since the funeral, it's been with me. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
It's nothing like I'm broke about it or anything, but I think maybe I have been keeping it with me because to remind me, you know? So no, I agree with that. And I hope I can keep that type of, that compassion with me, how much I've held on since that time, and just carry that on and, just try to keep up with it, but I think I do like that. And I love that, what you said.
Yeah, I think it's important. And I can't remember what inspired me to think about that, but it was something I was reading or listening to, one of the two, during this past holiday break that I was on. And, I mentioned that I had a lot of time to kind of reflect and meditate and, go deep with stuff. And so, it was a good time to kind of reset in some ways, which I guess, maybe that's kind of what holiday breaks are for. But I don't want it to just be something that I do on the holidays, I'm really trying to be like, dude, carry this into the rest of existence. Like, don't let it just be, oh yeah, when I take off, things will be wonderful, and then when I get back to the grind, it's just going to be crap again, because I think that's how maybe a lot of people see it. So I'm trying to be, and I know you are too, just trying to be more intentional about the coming year and all that. And to round it all out, this can be done at any time. It's not just the new year, right?
Right.
Every day is a new day.
Right.
Every moment is a new moment. You can decide when you want to be better for yourself and those around you at any time. And so while the new year is a nice time to do that, because it's kind of in the air, you can feel that vibe. Don't think that it has to be then, because really it's just another day.
It's just another day.
It's just another day.
Yes, absolutely. And then doing this right here, and what you said, Matt, practicing, it keeps you in the present. So you're not, that's the thing, we like to sit there and, okay, this is going to be the brand new start. Now this is going to be the brand new start, and I'm going to do things differently. And that's just, I guess, the way, the world is. But if you do this, it keeps you in the present. So when you do that and you meditate maybe for 5 minutes in the morning, you're not thinking about the daunting year ahead. You're just thinking about, man, it just refocuses you, roots you, and you're just in the moment. And when you're in the moment, you're not thinking about the future or the past. You're just at one. And then the year doesn't even matter anymore, right? It's just the moment, like you just said. And there's no more, it's not daunting anymore, because you're not thinking about time at that moment. It's just, you're just present. And it makes things a hell of a lot easier. So try it out.
It really does.
Try it out. Yes. I think one other thing that we were, talking about on the way over here was the well-being thing. Yes. Yeah, that is a big thing we want to do on this channel going forward, which, hopefully we'll be doing that in the new year. Well, the year is here, so hopefully as soon as possible. I think you could probably tell from our conversations that we're really
in a different stage in life than we have been in the past, and I think now we're interested in some different things, and the overall, I guess I'll use the term well-being, right, is one of those things. Taking care, like I said, of mind, body, and soul, and everything that goes along with that. So with that being said, we want to visit some other places and document our visits on the channel. Maybe it could be like I know there's a place around here where you can go float. You go sit in a tank and they close the tank and it's pitch black in there, and you just float. It's kind of like another form of meditation. There's also, I don't know anything about this. I've just kind of seen it, and I don't even know if I'm ready to do it or not. But have you ever heard of cryo chambers?
Oh, where it gets like super cold?
Yeah. You go in there and it's like, sub-zero or whatever.
Yeah.
But, supposedly there's health benefits to that.
Yeah.
Now I don't know, right? That could be something. But one of the things, and I know I've talked about this before with you, is one of the things that kind of sparked this interest for me was I was walking around Las Vegas and I saw all these oxygen bars everywhere. And you could go and sit at the bar and put a couple tubes in your nose, and there's like a test tube thing next to you that I guess has oxygen in it. There was like a liquid. I honestly don't know the mechanics of it. So for those of you that might, I probably sound super ignorant right now, but basically you go there and you just get oxygen, right? And you just sit at the bar and you hang out and talk to other people, but you just got a couple tubes in your nose and you're sucking in that oxygen, and it's supposed to, make you feel better and all that. So I'm interested. I will say I am very ignorant in the well-being area. There's still a lot that I need to learn about, but I want to start entertaining some more of those things, and I really want to start documenting those things on this channel.
Yeah.
And talking about our experiences with it, and maybe it helps other people as well, because the meditation is one practice that I will say is very important, and I think it's kind of the core of the practice. But there's a lot of other things you can do too, that are really helpful. So
yeah, absolutely. And like we had said, man, be crazy, because like when you put that oxygen in there and you're getting a bunch of it, I think sometimes maybe you can even get a little like high on the oxygen, So, but if it just like all of a sudden you're just like, oh yeah, this is good, you're like, man, all the times I was going through all this stuff, all I had to do was just slap some tubes in my nose and just start breathing. Go out and get you some oxygen today, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Just real quick, the same thing for me. When I was kind of going through my stuff, that's another thing I learned, that as much as I try to disassociate myself from my body when I was going through what I was going through, because it was medical, there is an attachment, and if this is good, it really helps up here too, Yeah. It's just one less variable that you're having to worry about,
Exactly.
Just knowing that this is all good. So completely agree, and I can't wait to explore that. So
yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So look forward to that, as the channel continues on. And I think with that, we're going to close it out. So thank you for an amazing conversation again.
To my brother, yes sir.
Hopefully you all got something out of it, and we'll see you on the next video.
All right. See y'all. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.